Hey guys, many of you asked how I mix my white, and I have to be honest, I don't do it very often, but I will share with you what I do and what I've learned if that helps you at all. To prep, it's really important that your colors maintain isolated so that we don't have any contamination of other colors, because white will instantly show whatever other color it's mixed with. So that's why I've pulled my half pan set from Winsor & Newton. I have yellow ochre here and Chinese white. Chinese white is not a pure white. It has kind of a gray tone to it, which makes it good for doing watercolors because it's not going to match the paper. So I think I haven't tried the other whites, full disclosure, but this one seems to do the trick. So what I'm going to do is I've already gotten these wet, so I'm going to take the color, mix it up really, really well. And because I pulled this, I think I'm actually just going to pour it into here so you can see that white is a really opaque white and it has lots of color to it even though it's just white. It's super opaque, and opaque means that it's super dense, and so it's not going to be transparent when you put it on the paper, which is why it works out so well with watercolor, because it won't blend into the paper, it's more on top of the paper. And then for my first color, I'm going to just barely tap that. That was probably even too much. And mix it in. Can I tell the difference? Maybe a tad, so maybe I'll just do a little bit more. And then I think I'm going to make a different color that's a little bit darker with a little bit more yellow, so that when it doesn't ever want to leave this little pan, it's like stuck in there. So whenever I put this into a flower, I will have a darker color to use as more of a shadow. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can tell the difference, but we have kind of white and a little less white, but they're still both very neutral colors, so it won't look like we're putting on a gray flower. It'll still appear very white with just a tiny yellow tint to it. So the next step is actually putting it on the paper, so hang tight. Okay, I've set up my work area with my watercolor paper, which is an 11 by 14 Arches Bright White 140 pound that comes in a large sheet that I just tear off for size. And we're using my Master's Touch round number 12. And for reference, if you want to go purchase it, I bought it at Hobby Lobby. And the code is WL-202. I'll also put that in the notes. I think it's an all-purpose brush, but it is my go-to brush, and it has been since I started over a year ago. So I love the stiffness of the bristles, and I love that it has a short tip, which allows a little bit more control for me, especially with my large strokes. So anyway, here we are with our bright white, and I've mixed the base color and then two other colors with varying degrees of yellow in them. And here comes my son. Hey, what's up, bud?
I love you.
I love you. I'm recording. Anyway, so I think let's do some peonies because I haven't done this in a while and they make beautiful white flowers. So I'm going to get my brush very wet with color. And we'll start up here in the corner. And I'm just going to make some upward strokes. And these are the upward facing flower petals. And have some that feather out like that. And it's a little difficult to see, but you can still see it. And then I think I'm gonna create like that back side. And if you've noticed, I have not added any darker color yet. By the way, it's a Saturday. It's super busy at my house, so if you hear noise, could be anybody. Then I'm going to take some darker color and tap it here. And you see it comes off a little gray, so I'm going to see what it looks like with these colors. That's a little bit better. I don't know why that is so gray. And then let's do another one down here. Oh, child. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. I'm going to do some upward like that and then some downward. We have a walk-in attic, and my 7-year-old decided it would be fun to go in there. So that's what he's doing right now. Okay, so now we've got the top level, the bottom level, and now we need a back level. I think I'm going to give up on this color because it seemed a little too dark in the wrong way. I don't even know why. And then we're going to dab a little bit back there like that. If you noticed, I have not used a whole lot of water aside from what I've already done here. That's intentional because I want the color to be more opaque than usual, which means I need it to have some thickness on that paper. Maybe a little bit more there. I think I need to broaden these a little bit, just make them bigger. Okay, and I think I'm gonna put another little one right here. I actually colored that in, oh my gosh. This one's not going to be as full as the other two. Okay. There we go. Then I think I'm gonna just tap in on a little bit more color at the bases. I wish I could fix this and how it... Okay, one thing you'll notice with very opaque color, it doesn't tend to spread as much as regular. The color sits more on the paper than it would if it were more transparent. And so it has benefits, but sometimes it's a little frustrating when it just sits there and doesn't blend. This blended really pretty. I really like that, but how it puddled right here bugs me, but I know if I touch this, then I will have overworked that area and it's gonna look like it. With the type of watercolor that I do, I like to leave things alone. If they don't work out, then it's just part of its character, right? Okay, but I am going to extend that just a little. I feel like that could use a little more, and maybe like right here. Okay, so that's the first step with peonies. And then, of course, I would typically put the green in immediately, but because we're working with white and because it's so easily tainted, I'm gonna let this dry before I start adding in anything else. So stay tuned. Okay, many hours have passed. Went to a soccer game, and now I'm back, and it really looks a lot different now that it's dried, but it's still acceptable. It's really hard to see, especially since there's no natural light on this, but I don't like the way that I did these parts here, but that's really okay because this is just art, and my kind of art is never perfect. So anyway, let's move on to our beautiful dark leaves. So what I want to use is the Van Gogh Viridian, which is this color here. It's a really deep, rich, saturated color. I love the Van Gogh colors. All the ones that I have are really awesome. And I'm going to mix some Van Gogh Viridian into what I've already been mixing here, which is old. but that's okay because I don't mind that other greens are in this. I'm going to get a lot of color in there, and then I'm going to grab some lamp black, just down at the bottom, and make a deeper color. So I want to have, this is going to be kind of an emerald green, and it's not going to look natural, but that's okay because that's my intention. Okay, so actually probably want even more. So I'm gonna have two colors, this color and this color, but sometimes it's nice just to have a third. And of course I don't have space for a third, so we will go up here. And I will come down here and grab, what color is this? I forgot, I'll put it in the notes. But it's a mix between, it's not quite viridian, but it's not quite olive green. It's kind of a Kelly green color. And I may or may not want to use this, but I'm going to mix it anyway, just in case I feel like it. All right. Okay, so the first thing I really want to harp on in this little tutorial of mine is your intention. So whenever you've made your flowers and you have to move on to leaves and stems, you have to commit. So with this kind of brush, it's nice because it's a thin brush and you can make a thin line, but it doesn't hold a lot of color. And if you want to draw a line all the way down and not have any break in the line, then you need to be able to make sure that your brush can commit all the way down and hold enough color. So just think about that when you're doing it. And in fact, I'm a little worried, so what I'm going to do is use my number 12 and just show you the versatility of the brush. So it's pretty full of this dark mixture, and I'm going to start first with this guy. And you want to pick somewhere in between the split of the flowers so that it doesn't look like the stem is growing out of nowhere. And I'm going to draw a straight line without stopping, without changing my speed or force, and just go all the way down like that. Phew! So stressful. And then I'm going to do the same up here. And do you see how that line is just so perfectly thin? Okay, here we go. This time I'm going to go a little bit in between like that. And I do, even though I said you need to commit, I do want to darken that. So all I'm doing is drawing my brush onto the area that I've already colored, and it just adds a little bit of darkness to it. And this is probably already dried. Let's find out. Nope. Okay, last time. This one's just going to go side. There, I think I like that. Okay, so we can get a little creative up here at the top. Peonies have some little things. What are those things called that hold it together? And I'm working still with the dark stuff. Now this doesn't need that because it's too close. I mean, too far away from the base of the flower, but this can certainly use it. And going up into there creates a little bit more. Oh, and of course, okay, next what I want to do is have some strategically placed stems. I'm going to want one to come here to fill out this area, one to come here. I also need something up in this spot here. So when I do this, you need to kind of work fast because it depends. you either want the lines to show within the stem, within the leaf, or you don't want to and you want it to blend all together. And I'll just demonstrate for you. So starting here, it's still a little wet, which is what I want. I'm going to draw it out like that, super thin, and I'm going to create, so the peony leaves come in little clusters of 3, and I think I want the other one to come up behind this flower here. Okay, and then I'm going to rinse my brush a little, and I'm going to go over to the Viridian, straight Viridian, and I'm going to start at the tip of my brush, and I'm going to push down and then up, and there's one side. And then the other side, I'm going to go back to the mixture, and I'm going to start up at the top, start at the tip, brush down, and dab it so that it gives a little bit more color. And I'm going to repeat that for this guy. Sometimes I work opposite, sometimes I don't. In this case, I'm a little nervous about it, so there's that. And I think I actually need to go a little darker. Sometimes you keep, yeah. Don't you love that color variation? Okay, this is where it gets tricky, so I'm just gonna work around that. And then like this. And then I want this one to be darker because it's in the background. So there's step 1, and look what happened here. I say don't work the stems, and look what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got this thing figured out. Let's move on to the other side. Again with the thick, and I don't want to be equal to this. I either want to go higher or I want to go lower, and I think I want to go lower, but arc up like that. And then one like this, one like that. Now, do I want to use this color? Let's see. Will I ruin it? Maybe. Or maybe there's just not that much difference. Hey, I like that. Maybe I'll do that from now on. Use this darker, and then we'll see. I hope you guys know that whenever you ask for a tutorial, this is what you're getting. Me just talking to myself half the time and getting things wrong the other half of the time. If you're like, how in the world does she do that? It's practice. How do I make the petal the way I do? It's practice. Or the leaf. That's another thing, guys. I just say the wrong thing all the time. Okay, so what I did here was I didn't make perfectly placed petals. Sometimes things look from a different angle, so this is like a different angled one. Okay, so now I might fill in more, but for now I want to start and do something up here to show some higher up leaves, but it has to have a source. So I think the source is going to be right here, and I'm going to go up here, there. What did I say? I wanted to do this thing. Okay, and this one I think I want to kind of curve it down like this. And then have it thicker right there. And have it turned down a little bit. I need something. Okay, so then we evaluate, and now this looks a little out of place, so I need to balance it with something here. We can find the source later, but for now, I think I just want a few random things showing. And with these leaves, you need to make sure that your brush has plenty of color, and once you get down to the bottom of it, sometimes it tends to run dry and you don't realize it until you've already put your brush down. It's a little frustrating, so then you have to mix new stuff and blah blah blah. Okay, source. I guess I'm gonna pull it from here again, and I want to have something right here because I just feel like that's an empty spot. Okay, what do you think? Now I feel like our peonies need a center, and so I'm gonna pull this yellow ochre that we had used before. I'm gonna grab my number 4, and this is the Royal and Longanickle, and it comes in a set. This whole thing comes in a set, so it goes from like size 4 to size 12, I think, and I really actually like the brushes a lot. And this has a nice dependable tip at the bottom. Sometimes I feel like the size 1s get all clumpy, and I like that it holds a lot more water, a lot more color, because I tend to use it a lot. So anyway, I'm gonna mix this off camera. It's already wet from earlier today. So I'm really not the best at the centers, so just, you can laugh at me if you're like, oh gosh. And I have to work around what I just painted. So with these, I make sure you tap the side of your brush so that you have a nice straight edge. I just kind of flick it. And they tend to be very full centers, I guess depending on the species of, and then sometimes I've got those little tips, but I just don't know because I always tend to screw that up. And this part I messed up because I blended the top and the bottom together, and so this is an opportunity for me to go in and give the illusion that there is an opening there. And here. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, just a little bit about myself. I am a musician and a stay-at-home mom, and I'm going to use this color up here, which is burnt umber, I think. Raw umber. This is raw umber, which is a little bit darker. Anyway, I was an artist when I was a little kid, but then, you know, everybody says they're an artist. So I really can't claim that. And a few years ago, not even, a little over a year ago, I decided I wanted to learn how to watercolor. So I'm not a pro, so please don't think if I give you wrong instructions or something. It's just me being a novice at this, so I don't know if I love it. But the whole point of this lesson was to show you how to do white flowers, and you got your white flowers. But as far as the rest of it, I may have failed you, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna step away, because sometimes you have to step away or you'll make it worse. So there you go. White peonies, and I hope you learned something, and I love you. Thank you. Bye.